Hello, I'm Daniel, and welcome to the Emunah Project. We here at the Emunah Project are continuing in our series of videos with respect to information, education, inspiration, guidance, advice. And I was thinking about the wickedness of Sodom and Gemorrah, Sodom. And there are towns that are rough, there are towns that are sinful, but a town where you couldn't even find 10 righteous men, that's a little tough to understand. I mean, there's got to be some people, right? Well, it was Harav Yaakov Moshe of Charlop, who claims that the evil that was perpetrated by the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah, was motivated by a philosophy of evil. This philosophy of evil was able to permeate the entire community, to spread to the entire community to the point where you couldn't even find 10 righteous people. When evil becomes a doctrine, sinning becomes a matter of principle. You think yourself into it. It's difficult to overcome. The more one speaks out against evil, the more the evildoer will cling to his convictions, his philosophy of wickedness and his beliefs. There's no room for logic. And he makes a comparison in the Gemorrah, in the Mishnah rather, between a wicked character by the name of Returnees and his discussions with Rabbi Akiva. This happened about 2,000 years ago. And the argument, the sophistry, the false logic, went kind of like this. He says to Rabbi Akiva, if your God loves the poor, why does he not support them? Rabbi Akiva replies, well, that's so that we can be saved through them from the punishment of Gerim, from the punishment of the hereafter. And they continue their discussion. And Returnees contended that if Hashem created the poor, then the poor person should remain that way. And in fact, someone who helps the poor, who gives tzedakah, who gives charity, is in fact countermanding the will of God. He's going against the will of God. And he's arguing it's actually forbidden to give tzedakah. It's forbidden to give charity. You're going against the will of God, because if God wanted them to be helped, he would not have made him poor and needy in the first place. He would have done well in Sodom. As we know, as we have learned in previous videos, as we know through the Torah, he was mistaken. Tzedakah, the giving of charity, it's for the benefit of the poor person. It's for the benefit of the recipient. But more importantly, it is for the benefit of the person who gives charity. It benefits the giver. It benefits the benefactor. It enhances, it refines the benefactor's sensitivity toward another human being. And he's created a circumstances, a person's poverty, a person's neediness, as a vehicle through which we can improve ourselves, we can better ourselves. This is what Rabbi Akiva meant when he said he saves us from Gehenna, saves us from Gehinnom. Through the vehicle of tzedakah, the beneficiary becomes a benefactor. And this is what saves us. In the Tanakh, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, the first and second verse, it says, it's usually translated, tzedakah, righteousness, rescues us from death, saves us from death. Tzedakah, of course, not only means righteousness, it also means charity. Charity saves us from death. This is also another thing Rabbi Akiva was referring to. Saves us from death. It saves us by giving charity, by giving money, by giving things to charitable causes. You are saving a life. You're saving a life. I remember listening to a shir, a talk given by Rav Moshe Kazuto, and he said the same thing. Charity saves from death, and it doesn't matter how much. If you give $100, if you give $10, if you give a nickel, if you give a dime, a quarter, you could save a life. A squirrel, a chipmunk, a porcupine, it saves. And let's look at it that way. If you want to take an absolutely mercenary approach to it, saying, sure, I'm giving to someone, but I'm also getting something out of it too. I'm doing it for the person, and I also will, B'ezras Hashem, with God's help, reap the benefits in times to come. We're going to be doing more videos along these lines. Please come back. Please watch. Please learn. I hope you're finding them helpful. I hope you're finding them inspiring. And until next time, on behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel, and thank you too much.